flying the F-101, do you remember, did you ever have any missions that were, you know, delicate or just, you know, lack of a better word, scary? Did you have any close calls?
Well, you'd never know it unless the bullet went through the plane. And so I probably did. I went across North Vietnam once. We had a sweep. And a sweep is where you have a number of fighter planes or reconnaissance planes or bombers or something, you know. They go in uniform formation over an area. And in this case, it was across from, let's see, from west to east. East to west, I guess it was. And as we went over this area, the stretch of North Vietnam, I didn't have my cameras on. And so I had to go back around and fly across it by myself, the same route. I had to get it done. And so I made sure I had my cameras on that time. And when I pulled off, I was out at sea at that time. And when I pulled off the fuel, I was going Mach 1 at about 500 feet.
Wow. And
the fuel was just, you know, it takes so much fuel to do that. So immediately I called for fuel, and there was a tanker sitting, you know, not far south of the DMZ at that time. So I whipped up there, and I was coming in fast, and I remember the operator on the fuel tanker, he said, slow it down, slow it down. And so I did, but he whipped that, you know, the probe and connected immediately. And man, I'll tell you, that was a good feeling that plane fill up with fuel. But then...
when you're doing that, can you tell with the flight controls?
Oh yeah.
With the airplane getting...
the plane starts getting heavy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you have to start adding more fuel. But that old hose whipped around the front of the, you know, the windshield into the probe, and started filling up with fuel. Oh, I'll tell you, that was good. Well, you know, if I had to have done it, if I, you know, this run out, I would have landed right there at, I guess it was Da Nang, the farthest north base. But I made it on back okay. I went over there again after that in 1968. I came back to the States, of course, back to Wright Pat. But then in the program, we were developing these text orders, you know, I mentioned this earlier about the Vietnamization program, where we were translating all the manuals into Vietnamese. We had a special type of manual called a job performance aid that we were developing for the Vietnamese. This came out, the Human Factors organization there at Wright Pat came up with this idea of developing these manuals with pictures. It was more than pictures, it was specially oriented for people with low skills and things. It was all tested by people back here in the States. So I was sent over there to introduce that manual in about 70, 72, 71, somewhere in there. I went back again. And at Da Nang, I went up to a lot of different bases there. At Da Nang, I remember one night, they were shelling me.
Really?
And I tell you, I crawled under the bed that time, in case, you know, it was shot at the roof or something. But matter of fact, of all the bases, I was on more bases that were shelled that time than when I was shelled when I was living in Tan Son Nhut.
Really?
Back in the 66, 67, 68. But no, I don't. You'd never know unless you were hit if you were really in danger. Because you can't, you know, you can't hear them shooting at you, you can't see it.
How about SAMs? Were SAMs ever a threat to you guys?
Well, I flew over. I had them there was a SAM site right there just north of the DMZ, almost on the DMZ, and we had a detector in the cockpit that you could tell when they were strobing you, and I knew they were strobing me at that time. So That's why it's going Mach 1. No, I flew over one thing that really interested me. I had a mission in South Vietnam towards Cambodia, just to the, let's see, to the west of Tan Son Nhut, at Cambodia. And you weren't supposed to go into Cambodia, but I flew there near it. We knew that's where the Viet Cong was stockpiling goods and things. And you could see right across the border in Cambodia, stockpiles, stacked 10, 20 feet high, ammunition, all kind of stuff. We weren't allowed to touch it. But when I'd bank and try to stay within our boundaries, and we'd look down, you could see gun emplacements, but no one was ever firing at me. But that was a real interesting war. We lived in a villa there at Tan Son Nhut, and when the war was going on, and on the roof you could see them fighting out there.
Really?
Yeah, and firing, shooting back and forth at each other. And the Tet Offensive, when the Viet Cong was invading, coming into the city there, you could see them coming down the street, and we had guards, of course, which was, the guards deserted us, and we had to go out and man these posts ourselves.
Really?
And at that time, I remember there's bullets would rip into our building, and one particular pilot there, old Woody, the hot lead was falling in the bed.
Oh, no.
This was at night, yeah. And so I grabbed we all had an I think it was M16, and I ran out of my room with that M16, and one guy, it scared him seeing me that way, and I thought, well, don't you understand, we're liable to be, invaded at any minute, but he was more scared of me than he was the Viet Cong, but and anyhow, they had killed so many people there in Cha Lan. That's I think that was the north side of Saigon, and they couldn't get them out. Pretty soon you could smell the odor of them when we'd drive into Saigon to get food and stuff at the commissary. And that was a horrible war. But
a lot of the F-105 guys that I know, when they were flying, it was pretty early over there, and they said it was so political as far as, don't go here, don't go there, you can only go here.
Yeah.
Did you run into that same thing, or being a reconnaissance 101?
Well, that was the only thing I can think of, Eric, that we weren't supposed to fly into Cambodia, and but all I had to do is bank the plane, and those big old K-1s that take pictures of all that stuff sitting there. And the people that were monitoring those places, see that we didn't fly in there, they weren't friends of the United States. They were of countries, alien, anti-American. So, no, and I flew into Laos, and of course I never flew up into China now, but I knew people that did, though. They'd fly very close to the border. But no, I can't think of anything that like that.
How many cameras were on the RF-101?
Oh God, let me see. We had we had the big K-1s in the front nose, and then the small lens. I can't remember.
In order to get them rolling, was it one switch for all of them, or could you select the cameras individually?
No, you had to select them.
Okay.
Yeah. And everyone wanted those big cameras. Those big cameras are what they took those pictures down in Cuba of when they saw those missiles down there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was, everyone, you didn't, with the F4, their cameras, you could take pictures with them, but you had to enlarge them. But the K1s, God, they were like a foot or 18 inches by 18 inches,
Really?
you know. And you just developing, and there it was.
Wow. When you were doing the reconnaissance missions, did you carry any ordnance with you?
No.
No?
None. The only thing we carried with us, we're supposed to, is a 38 in our holster. Yeah. There's an old saying about low, slow, and bold, something like that. And,
Right.
and reconnaissance was business. Yeah.
Because there was a lot riding on the photographs that you guys got.
Oh yeah, yeah, it sure was. They had cameras that would, you know, especially when the enemy would cut branches and things to hide their facilities and their equipment and stuff. We had cameras that take pictures of those that stuff, and it would show the difference. I don't know how they did that, but it was something in the development of the film. And there's also another thing called Cedar, and I got a lot of this when I was at Wright Pat and this special outfit. They would take a picture of an area, and then they'd come back and take a picture of it, say a day or two later, and you could tell if anything was disturbed. It's called Cedar, I think. I remember what that acronym meant, but anyhow, that was pretty effective. And well, so God, they had so many different things going on there at Wright Pat, and I get thinking we had birds. I dealt in birds too, and the birds would fly on these radar sites with explosives on them and detonate, you know, and blast a hole in. And also when we'd take pigeons and train them, and the pigeon would see someone down there and they'd make a certain motion or flash, you know there's people around. But that was extremely interesting business. But I'd rather have been flying, I think, than doing that. But anyhow, so be it.
What are some of the flight characteristics of the 101? Just downright, things that you liked, things that you thought could have been improved.
The turn radius in it, when you were doing at altitude, it was, well, you could, when I was in radar control, you turn the thing, and for example, running an intercept, you had to start turning that thing way ahead of say an F4 or something like that. It took so long to get it turned, like at 30,000 feet at 0.9 Mach or something like that. It turned 30 miles and for a 180 degree turn.
Wow.
Tremendous turn.
Wow.
So in running intercepts, you had to be aware of that in order to intercept your target.
How about thrust to weight ratio?
Oh, it was fantastic. As a matter of fact, that takes me back when I was assigned to 18th Fighter Squadron in 1954, 55. They had the 101 up there at that time doing cold weather tests on it. And, my God, it looked like a rocket. It held the climb rate for years. It's the fastest climbing plane they had. When I first went to Shaw in 1967, getting checked out in the 101, it was like getting a kick in the pants when you kick in the burners on that thing.
Really?
It set you back in your seat. I really enjoyed flying that bird though. It was, and I also enjoyed daytime flying. You never flew at night with it.
Why is that?
Well, you couldn't see anything. You had to see. That was a daytime reconnaissance bird. The F4 did the nighttime reconnaissance.
Okay.
But the 101 was strictly daytime. I went from into this C5 program in about 73, and I was data control in the C5 until I retired in August of 1975.
Data control in the C5, what's that?
That's engineering data. That's the development of the all one, you know, the Dash 1, the Dash 2, and all the maintenance manuals, the radar, everything.
I got you.
And for the C-5, it was about $73 million project. And you were supposed to compete for the development of these different manuals. And the system being like it is, you're supposed to give equal opportunity to different people out there, you know, ethnics. And so they made us artists to give some of the development of some of the manuals to people who we knew weren't qualified, and we lost a lot of money in the project. But anyhow, we got it back on track, and we got it done. But anyhow, I retired from service in August of 1975, and we moved back here to Dallas, to DeSoto, where we're sitting right now. Of course, I still have a number of those friends today. Yeah, there were several of them, more of them in the 105s, I think, that lost, but they weren't, the 105s weren't stationed at Tan Son Nhut, they were over in Thailand. And remember, Jimmy Metz had to bail out, and he lost his life there. They shot him on the ground. And
you were telling me that story earlier. Can you go back through that?
Yeah, they were a flight of 105s, and all I can tell you is what I had friends tell me, that we both knew Jimmy, and they said that he had hit by ground fire, and he had to bail out. And so when he hit the ground, why the other, you know, guys flying formation in the 105s, they said they could see him on the ground. He pulled out his pistol, and he was going to fight him. Jimmy was he was a true blue American and believed in standing up for his country, so he pulled that 38 out, and they killed him on the spot. The North Vietnamese did. Jimmy Metz was in the 18th Fighter Squadron with me in Alaska, and he was a macho guy. But others in the outfit I was in, I can't remember us losing anyone. But now the guys flying the 101s out of Thailand into Hanoi in North Vietnam, they lost a number of those.
Really?
Yeah, and to missiles and ground air missiles, and of course the story about I have the book in there on the table. It's Robin Olds.
Yeah.
You know, he had a squadron there. He was flying out of called it the Triple Nickel, I guess it was. And you probably heard that. They pulled a trick on the Chinese. They flew. They were saying they were sending a flight of 105s over towards Hanoi. Really, it was F4s.
Yeah.
With old Robin in the lead. And so
that's
they
a famous flight too.
The MiGs. Yeah. But when I was flying over there in the 101s, I never saw any MiGs. I never heard of any whatsoever. So thanks to Robin Olds, his buddy, they probably cleaned them out. But the way they advised us, if we were ever encountered any MiGs, all they wanted us to do was just dump the nose, kick in the burners, and then they would catch us.
There.
Yeah, unless they had a missile, of course. That'd been something different. But
what kind of ordnance could the 101 carry, as far as bombs, rockets, missiles, whatever?
I really don't know. I imagine missiles. Now, you know, the F-89D that I flew in Alaska, that would carry, we carried 52 2.75 folding fin rockets. Half of them were in one wingtip, another half another wingtip. But it was also built to carry that nuclear weapon, which we never carried. But no, we didn't carry any weapons in the 101, RF-101.
The F-89 Scorpion, those 2.75 folding fin rockets, they were just basically ballistic. They were not guided or anything like that.
They were ballistic.
You just put the pipper on the target and just pull them. They just...
Yeah, they were...
Could you fire? Could you select how many you wanted to fire, or was it all of them at once?
Well, I think we could select how many we wanted, like half. It wasn't a real like one or two. It was either half or all. And I got to fire those in Alaska, but we didn't fire but about 12 at one time, you know. Now in the 94C, I fired those rockets when I was in the over in Newcastle County, Delaware, and that was a good weapon. Had a good radar control in the back though. He put me right on the target and fired him. Matter of fact, we cut the rag off with those things. They're pretty
really
accurate, yeah. I enjoyed that.
Were those guided?
No, they weren't guided. You just fired them and they were free falling all the way.
Really? Wow. Was the F-89, was it light on the stick or was it a heavy airplane?
It was about average. I'd say it wasn't heavy, no. The bird that was the heaviest on the stick was the F-80, I think.
Really?
Yeah, although it's much lighter, smaller plane. You'd think it'd be much lighter, but it wasn't. It wasn't nearly as light on the stick as the T-33, which it really was, you know. The T-33 was just an advanced, you know, F-80. But the F-80, to do a roll, a loop, you had to get up like 420 knots.
Really?
And it was just like flying a Mack truck, I thought. But I mentioned that to someone that knew this fighter ace that flew these F-80s in Korea, and he totally disagreed. He said that he thought, he didn't disagree with me it being hard to fly. It was, hard on the stick. I guess what he liked the plane because he survived. I can't remember. Fisher. Yeah, old Fisher.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the one that contradicted my statement about that plane. Of course, he did quite a while. I think it was Fisher who was shot down by this Chinese pilot. The Chinese pilot, I think he didn't have hardly many hours at all in the MiG. And so he just happened upon Fisher, and Fisher didn't even know he was there, from what I heard.
Yeah.
I have a guy, a friend, who was in the State Department. He used to come to all the Flying Tiger reunions. He was telling me about it. He interviewed this Chinese guy. Matter of fact, I think he got, Fisher was over there in China in about 2007, I think, and they had the two guys meet. The Chinese guy shot him down.
Really?
Yeah, they had an interview about that. And, but anyhow, that was...
You ever hear the story about Greg Pappy Boyington when he got shot down by the Zero?
I never did, no.
Yeah. Years later, similar situation. They reunited and they sat down, and Pappy Boyington looks at this Japanese Zero pilot. And he goes, for all these years I've replayed that flight in my head, and he goes, I can't figure out what went wrong.
Yeah.
And the Japanese pilot looked at him and he said, nothing at all. Nothing went wrong because he shot him down.
Yeah. I think Pappy got mad about that and got up and walked off.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, I heard about
wow.
that when I was at the, I got to go to the Fighter Aces reunion last September, and someone was telling me about that. Of course, old Pappy, he and Charlie went on the Chiang Mai raid. I guess you know about that. And Pappy's book, he talks about he heard someone firing when they went in, and of course that was Charlie firing his guns when he saw the base. And Pappy came through Dallas many years later and stopped by to see Charlie. Matter of fact, he spoke there at the Happy Warriors. I don't know if that was the name of it then, and his son, I read in the paper, just donated all of Pappy's paraphernalia and stuff to that Marine base down in Yuma, Arizona, I think it was. Yeah.
Oh, okay.